Hey, welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. My name is Reverend Richard Pacheco. Call me Rev Rich. And as always, I'm grateful for you to join me here today. And today, my talk is actually titled, What Am I Feeling? And I mean, emphasize that question. What am I feeling? So before we get into the lesson, as always, subscribe, like, share, and finally hit the button so you know when any videos drop. And if you're catching this on my podcast, so make sure you subscribe to the podcast in whatever podcast venue you listen to. Again, we are also on iHeartRadio, and like and share there as well. So with that being said, I know going through this unity trip for myself as a reverend, and even prior to reverend and getting into the new thought philosophy, I experienced a lot of things that nobody explained to me was going to happen. And I remember the first time it happened to me. And it was during a class for my ministerial studies. And what I'm talking about, you probably already experienced this without knowing you experienced this, is that battle within the brain and the heart and even your body when you know you're doing the right thing, but your comfort level tells you otherwise. See, in unity, we have the two C's. One is called chemicalization, and the other one is crucifixion. So when we look at chemicalization, which was introduced by Emily Cady in her book, we talk about how when our mind comes together or goes against that which we know is right for ourselves, or like we like to say we've dived deep within ourselves, it begins a battle almost. And we hate to put the word battle in it, but that's literally how it feels if you've ever gone through it. Because even I have had the experience over and over again. You know, in recent weeks for myself, it's become challenging because of the fact that I've had a lot of good things coming in. In fact, I just finished praying in Spanish for the first time in 51 years. And again, I'm 51 years old, so that tells you I've never prayed in Spanish on our Eastern Regional Conference for Unity. And I'm grateful for the team on the Urban Ministerial School reunion because they made me practice beforehand. And on top of that, I was following Faith Rivera as she played, and she played behind me. So again, I was nervous back and forth. And up to this day, my mind kept trying to, well, maybe I should cancel, maybe I shouldn't let it. But I knew that this was something I needed to do. Next Monday, I'll be speaking during the IAMU conference. So I've been asked to do that. I'm on this committee. I'm also going to be doing a workshop and hosting on the Urban Ministerial School reunion. So I'm being called to do a lot of things. But what's happening is, because I was comfortable only working at Unity of NEPA and speaking there, these things come and my brain starts protecting me. So it's not a bad thing. The brain wants to keep you comfortable. But we know the verse that says, as a man is in his heart, so is he. And our heart, a lot of times, can be translated to our subconscious. So when our subconscious is used to a comfort level and starts to share these things, and now we have this intuition, this divine guidance that's telling us that we are here to destined to do more, we get into what's called chemicalization. And we feel nervous. We have things come up from the past that try to tell us that we are not good enough. So if you listen to the Badass series, you know that we went from letting go of the past to tapping into that good. So here's what we're talking about when we talk about chemicalization. We're taking the past programming. We are taking this new divine inspiration. We tapped into the mother lode of good, and they're crashing. And it's not always in a bad way. They're crashing because our mind is trying to say, well, Rich, we were happy and comfortable here, but were we truly happy? Because we wouldn't be seeking. And if we're seeking and we tap into the mother lode of good, then we know that that's where the conflict goes. But as Winston Churchill always says, if you're going through hell, keep going. So understand that chemicalization is one of those things we're going to feel on this journey. After we tapped into the mother lode of good, we had to get over it. We had to get over those old beliefs that were intended for our good based on our parents, our teachers, and whatever, doing the best they could with what they knew. I always say I was born again on my 31st birthday and in that year because I had a tragic event that almost happened and I had to reevaluate my life. I put this out there for that the young teenagers, the young adults, and even people my age and older, we can always change to understand that when you feel that chemicalization, when you feel that push, that we're still there and we can get over it by getting over those old fears and those old programmings, knowing that we are destined for greatness. We're destined to be that badass that we were meant to be. And the second C that I talked about was crucifixion. Now, if you've been in traditional religions as I have, you know, when we talk about crucifixion, we're thinking Good Friday, Easter, that Lent season. And we talk about that here at Unity as well. But what I want to talk about is crucifixion as Charles Fillmore defines in The Revealing Word, where he says that crucifixion is when we've gone through our chemicalization, we've isolated those old thinking, and we are now crucifying them. We are letting them go at this point. We are allowing them to go away. If you've been in any of the services that I have done for Good Friday, we talk about the 7 sayings of Jesus, and the last thing he said was, "It is done." And that's what we're saying to those thoughts. When we've gone through chemicalization, when we've made it to that other side and said, I've done what I need to be done, and these thoughts come, we can look at it and say, it's done. I no longer have to fear. I no longer have to hold on to those old programming, those old thoughts. In fact, when we talk about Ho'oponopono and we use those lines, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, it's because we're reprogramming those parts of our subconscious with the old beliefs, the old thinking. And we're allowing ourselves to be clean and open for those new thoughts and those new thinkings. So now when we think about crucifixion, we think about it as it is done. I have moved on. And then we can move on to that last part of that 4-part series, which was kick it off. We now can continue moving. Now, does that mean that it ends there? No. My first chemicalization came when I was taking metaphysics with Reverend Ogun Holder of Project Sanctus. And he has a way that at the end of class, we're to pick one thing and do it for 21 days straight. And at the end of 21 days, I had to write a report. And I remember writing about all the experiences, everything I felt, everything I did. And he sent me back the paper with an A, literally with the words, "Welcome to chemicalization." Here it is now, probably 7 years after that class. I am now a minister, and I'm still going through chemicalization because as I continue to grow, my mind is yelling at me, telling me, hey, didn't we already move up to this point of life? What more we got to do? And I'm sitting there going, I'm not done. This divine self that I call Richard is not done. And if I'm to inspire those that look up to me now or are looking for guidance from me, I need to keep moving. Because there's going to be a time where they've reached my level and say, hey, where do we go from here? And I can't be there for them. But every time I rise, there's going to be chemicalization. And every time I rise and get past my chemicalization, there's going to be crucifixion because I have to let those old thinkings go. And last week we talked about gratitude being more than thank you. Well, at the end of both those C's is where gratitude comes in, because that's where we can now breathe and say thank you, but I'm not done. So today I urge you to look at yourself. Look at the teachings of all the luminaries. Jesus as master teacher, the Buddha. We know the story of Jesus going through his 40 days of fasting, and he was tempted with hunger. He was tempted with infamy. He was tempted with testing his faith. And each time he went through chemicalization and crucifixion by saying, no, Man does not eat by bread alone. Man does not test God. An acknowledgement of his infamy. If you know the story of Siddhartha, the Buddha, he went through the exact same thing. And in meditation, he was tempted by so many things. He went through his chemicalization. He probably questioned his own during that time, and at the end said, "It is done." So I urge you today, if you're going through something, but you know in your heart you're heading in the right direction, know that your chemicalization is just you coming up to your old programming. And that you keep going, because as that old programming clears, you'll end up at your crucifixion and say, "It is done." So I leave you with that today. Evaluate your life. See where you're at. And if you're going through what I'm talking about, keep going. And you know that you're destined to be at your divine self. And even when you reach what you think it is, it will be shown to you so much more that you're willing to do. That being said, as I always say, thank you for being here. And if no one else has told you, I love you. And there's nothing you can do about it. And I will see you next Monday for our Monday meditation, next Wednesday for our Wisdom Wednesday. And as always, comment or ask questions if you have, and I'll be more than glad to be there for you. So I bid you namaste as the big, beautiful divinity in me sees that big and beautiful divinity in you. And I will see you next time.